So this is episode number 3, driven by Josiah with Mathieu Berthiaume.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Did I say
You can
that?
call me Matt. It's Mathieu Berthiaume. But that was pretty good.
Mathieu Berthiaume.
That's good. I like that.
Enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and I mean, you have a French last name too, technically. Falaise.
So that's how it's said, but we say falaise.
Falaise, yeah.
So it was funny because when I faked the French accent with Saito, they were at my shop.
Yeah.
He was like, "You have a more pure French accent than we do."
Of course.
Because I was saying we were counting to 10 in French, and I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but when I played EDC, which is a Quebec drift series, I was like, you guys are like, 1, 2, 3. And he's like, he just started dying. He was like, actually, you sound like you're from France. We sound dirty.
That's Quebec French.
Yeah.
Quebec French, they have an accent. And I'm actually, French is my first language, but I'm from Ontario.
Yeah.
And somebody from Quebec would listen to me speak, and they would say that, like, you know, something different about it.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not the French from France.
You have zero accent when speaking English, though.
No. Pretty lucky that where we grew up was very bilingual. And, you know, like as kids, we used to watch TV in French and English, so we picked it up pretty quickly. And then in the French school system, they get you on to speaking English pretty early so that it's natural. But also French is a much more difficult language to learn.
Yeah, totally. Like English, I swear, it's got to be the easiest. Other than all of the, like, different words like moose. Multiple moose can be just moose, but it's not meese like it is for
it's
geese.
Not mooses.
Yeah, like there's a goose and then there's geese. There's a moose and then there's moose. And you're like, why? No reason. I can't explain it. Adiraj, I'm sorry, my engineer.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a clue either, and it doesn't make sense to him. So I understand the confusion.
Yeah, and French is worse. There's rules, and then there's exceptions to the rules.
Gender.
And then there's exceptions to the exceptions. Oh yeah, every item is gendered.
Oh boy.
The table is feminine.
That's a problem.
A table is feminine. Why?
Really?
Why? No one knows. That's just how it is.
Nice.
That's what's interesting about the French language. It's like there's rules, but there's not always a logic to the rule. Maybe there is somewhere where it came from, but
sometimes logic is just memory, and sometimes it has no reason for it to be that way. You just have to remember.
One day somebody just decided that was the truth, and then
a lot of things are that way.
Yeah.
A lot of words, a lot of things.
Yeah.
Anyways,
no rhyme or reason.
I'm going to start with a simple question, and it's going to be, if you had to voice over a highlight reel of your own life, what would you say? Because when I ask you, introduce yourself.
Yeah.
It's very formal, but I want you to say a highlight reel. It could be personal stuff, could be about everything.
Yeah.
So go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay. Putting me on the spot. So my name is Mathieu Berthiaume. I'm 34. I'm from Ontario, Canada. I'm an electrician. I own an electrical contracting business
called
Brightside Electric. Good plug.
Yeah, great plug.
It'll be all over the side of the new race car that we're building. So
awesome.
Other than that, what can I
highlight
say?
Reel.
Yeah, highlight reel.
Give me some good stuff.
I'm into drifting.
Yeah.
I've been into drifting for about 17 years.
Way longer than me.
Makes me feel old. But I started, like, realistically, when I was about 17. Like, my first car was actually an S13.
Do some math.
It was a 91.
Do some math.
Yeah.
17 years. Started at 17.
That's it. I'm 34 now.
Okay.
I had a funny thought the other day. I bought a 350Z as a practice car.
Yeah.
And it's an American car, so it's pretty clean. There's no rust on it. And when I was working on it, I came to the realization that it was a 20-year-old car, because we're in 2023.
Doesn't seem
and
like it.
When I bought my 91 Nissan 240 in 2006 or 2007, that car was only 15 or 16 years old, and it was rotten. And we thought they were the coolest cars.
Yep.
But anyways, some perspective. Highlight reel. So I've been into drifting pretty much, since I could drive. And I think even before that, when I was in high school, I was on like old forums that I don't know if you know about.
A little bit.
Zilvia,
Yeah.
Ziptide.
Son 240 was a big one.
Yeah. For Ontario.
Before it was a Facebook group.
Yeah. There was Nico forums. There's a bunch of because I was a big Nissan guy. That was my thing.
I mean, it's interesting when you look up forums and then you see like my company name in them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is so weird to see, because you just don't get, like on Facebook, I can find this stuff, no problem. But on a forum where people are privately talking about your company, your products, whatever.
Yeah.
It was always more interesting to see people talking, because it's almost like it's behind closed doors, and they are saying like, oh, this company looks pretty good. Like they just talk differently than when you're on Facebook. Facebook is so...
It's public.
Oh, it's weird. And people do not act like people on Facebook. They just don't. You're like, you'd never say that in person. But forums, it seems a little more formal, a little more... the expectations are higher. It's older guys. It's more mature. There's respect.
It's a different vibe for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree. So Brightside is your social media handle on stuff.
Correct.
Brightside, what else? What's the relation there? What's going on?
So the name of the company, it's actually an interesting story. Well, maybe not interesting to you, but interesting to me and my friends.
Yeah.
We were actually in Montreal for one of my friend's bachelor parties. Shout out Jordan, if you're going to watch this or listening.
He should.
Yeah, he should. And we closed out a karaoke bar. And, it was like, I don't know what time the last call is in Montreal. It's like 3:30 or 4 a.m. It's later than anywhere else in Ontario. And the last song that played was The Killers, Mr. Brightside.
Good song.
And we were all like hours and hours into drinking and, could barely walk. And it was kind of like a magical moment. Like we're all, young, free. I think he was one of our first friends to get married. So it was kind of like a big moment, right? And we all, stood up on that karaoke stand, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, and we sang that song, and then the bar closed, and then we all, went and got shawarma and stuff. But that memory stuck in my head. And the next day I was like, you know what? If ever I open a company, I'm going to call it Brightside Electric. Just rolls off the tongue.
It does, because it's... you're fixing lights, you're getting the rooms, like you're just lighting up the room.
That was the other idea. Like the practical side to the name was that we're residential electricians. So we only pretty much work in people's homes. Yeah. And a big part of our job is lighting. So
do you think you'd ever get into commercial stuff or no?
Yes and no. It's a whole different type of work. And there's probably more money to be made in commercial, if I'm honest.
Yes.
The stakes are higher because the jobs are bigger. And
when you look in commercial, you can get into government funded projects, contracts, things where people just don't care as much about what it costs. They just need it to get the work done. Yeah. So definitely commercial would be, the possibilities are endless once you get into it. So so Tommy and I were talking on the last podcast how no matter what your background, if you're into drifting and have been into it for a while, you must be an entrepreneur of some kind. So that's why this podcast might become one of the easiest things ever. Yeah, because here we are, drifter of 17 years, entrepreneur. Now you bought the business from the prior owner, but now it's yours. It's your own name. It's everything. So entrepreneur nonetheless. How do you make drifting work and balance it with everything else? Because obviously drifting isn't your identity, but it seems to be a large part. So
it's a big part of it. Yeah, for sure. That's a good question. So for one, the owning a business, I think it's the only way to sustainably drift, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I don't think that if you are an employee and work for a company, and sorry, I should preface this by saying this doesn't include having sponsors or help from outside help. Yeah. But if you want to be self-funded, it's impossible, I think, as somebody who's not an entrepreneur or business owner.
You pay for one tire, you would have to work for 4 hours. Yeah. As a business, that's not how it works.
But the thing is, I did that. Yeah. For about 15 years before I owned the business, right? So it was a grind. you know, working at nights, working weekends, doing side jobs. And then also it was a big sacrifice, you know, like outside of drifting, I live a pretty simple life. You know, if you look in my closet, there's like 3 pairs of jeans.
Right.
There's a couple of nice t-shirts, but there's a lot of, you know, work shirts, you know, swag and stuff like that.
Yes.
You know, my phone's 3 years old. I'm not always looking for the newest technology. You know, I live in what I consider a very nice house, but it's not, you know, the kitchen's original, the bathroom's
within
50
your
years
means,
old.
you would say? Still?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think so. Yeah. Would it be sustainable if I didn't own a business? I don't think so.
So what owning a business, I think, does for yourself, myself, and anyone else that I know, it offers a perspective that no one else can relate to, in the sense that we are constantly living within chaos, so the rest of the world seems like a playground.
Absolutely.
And if you're able to get to that point, it's like the saying where I've actually heard somebody else say this. I don't know who it was. I saw it in a random video. You see a lot of inspiring videos nowadays, and I really don't know who's saying it, but it's good stuff. Anyway.
I think it's targeted.
Yeah,
you must
of
be
course.
looking,
No,
like, you know what I mean? It's who you listen to, who you watch on YouTube. You're going to get more of what you're looking for. If you looked at my
TikTok for like 5 minutes, you'd be so inspired. You'd be like, I'm going to, I don't know what you do, but you would be motivated to do a lot of stuff. And that's what my algorithm has been narrowed down to, and I'm okay with that, because it really isn't a waste of time. Although I will go and watch 10 minutes of crazy inspirational videos while not doing anything simultaneously, and then feel very like, this is kind of hypocritical that I'm watching all of these, getting inspired, but not using this harnessed motivational energy, which is very difficult to have every day. Motivation.
Absolutely.
Discipline is probably the way more consistent thing to focus on versus constantly being motivated.
My old boss, who I bought the business from, would agree with you there. He's like, the trick is just to show up every day. Just show up every day. Just wake up at the same time every day. Set your alarm. What doesn't matter if you start at 7, 8, 9 o'clock, but like I wake up at between 5 and 5:30 every day. I'm at the office between 7 and 7:30. You know, a typical work day for me is 10 to 12 hours minimum. And I'm just talking about like when I'm at the office, like doesn't mean I'm not answering calls and emails and taking care of stuff after that. But.
So I would say that the key, like if there's one key, a lot of people have said it's consistency. There's a bunch of words you can use. But if I was to say, how can you dramatically improve your life as quickly as possible? If someone asked me that, I would be like, find what your limit is. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be weightlifting. It could be getting up on, like if 7 a.m. is hard for you, go for 6:30. And constantly push that boundary. And as long as you keep pushing the boundary, what was hard becomes easy, and it just raises the bar. So I used to do high jump in high school. That's literally where the raise the bar comes from. Is we are constantly raising the bar in order to jump higher and achieve more and whatever.
For sure.
I'm 99% sure that's where that saying comes from.
It's a great metaphor.
It has to be raising the bar. Everyone says it. But I actually did the sport that they're referring to. Which I would compete with my younger brother at the time. And we did end up going to like East Regionals and then all of Ontario, and we did very well in this sport. We could jump very high for no reason at all. We had
it's still an achievement.
Very little training. We were like first place, and then I would get to OFSA, and these coaches would be like, "You don't have a coach. You're the only one here without a coach." And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't even have high jump shoes. I have sprinting spikes. If anyone's watching that has done track and field, I just didn't like the shoe, plus they were expensive. They were like $300. Sprinting spikes are like $80. So I made it happen. And I mean, I was constantly raising the bar, not aware that, I mean, I wasn't really trying. I was just good at it. I wasn't actually trying to achieve anything at that age. I had no aspirations to be a professional high jumper. Not that I could have been, because there was no coaches or anything. But if I could, that was a little off topic. If I could say anything to anybody, it would just be find the limit, push that limit, whatever it is. And some people's limits are way lower or different than others. And
for sure.
It has to do with your surroundings. You can't compare your life to anybody else's, and that's another thing. Comparison is the thief of all joy.
Joy, for sure. Heard that one many times.
Many times. So, and it's so true. It's like you've been dealt a hand. You're given what you got. It's the body you have. It's whatever you're trying to achieve. Like it. I also go to the gym quite a bit, so it's like I relate to that as my discipline, work ethic area. Yeah. But it's finding that limit and pushing it, and that is with drifting. If you never push it, you'll only be so good.
Yes. Right? No, exactly. It's like you're talking to a guy that's gone into a concrete barrier at least twice and pretty much written off the cart each time. But I think that at the
was that moment, the limit, or was that just a mistake?
Well, one time it was a mechanical failure.
Yeah.
And the second time it was just a driver error. But it's part of learning, right?
Make sure we're still recording.
Sounds good.
Oh, we're doing great. Fantastic. Look at this.
Good.
Almost 20 minutes in.
Yeah, this is scary. I don't know how I feel like we're going to get through. That? Yeah, I know. But I could talk for hours.
It's great. So
I was going to comment on something you said, and now I can't remember. I lost my train of thought.
Well, we were talking about how you would tell someone as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And then you said push your boundaries.
Yeah.
So for me, stress and anxiety was probably my biggest one in my daily life and in owning a business. My stress threshold was pretty low because I think I grew up in a very calm, safe, nurtured environment where I wasn't exposed to a lot of trauma, pressure. So when you become an adult, you move out, you start doing things, all of a sudden it's like, oh, all these little things are stressing me out. But where I'm going with this is that owning a business has taken my stress threshold from down here to way up here. And it in a healthy way, I think, because the thing is you got to manage your stress and you got to talk about it. You got to realize when you're stressed. Otherwise you ball it up and it blows up and you do a burnout or have a depression or whatever. Sure. But for me, owning the business made me realize that a lot of the small things in life are just not worth worrying about. I used to wash my truck every week, and if I didn't have time to wash my truck, it was like a problem. I'd be stressing about it, and so I had to let a lot of that go owning a business because I have 8 employees, and you cannot be everywhere at all times, and things will not always go the way you expect them to or want them to, and it's okay. Right?
Yeah, priority shifts to basically you have to choose what the priorities are.
Exactly.
What matters and what you can put your time into. And 100%, there's so many things that become less and less and less relevant. Owning a business and being on a very public level with the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Comments and anyone talking shit about the company would bother me. To the point where it would shut me down for the day.
Really, eh?
And then now, honestly, if you don't have someone that's talking poorly about you, then really you haven't made it yet.
Yeah.
Because what I've learned was that you won't hear from somebody who is doing better than you. You'll never hear from somebody who's doing better than you. So you can quickly shift your perspective to this person is talking poorly about me, but let's look at it from a different angle and wonder why. I don't really want to put too much thought into it, and I don't anymore, but I'm like, why would they take the time out of their own day to try and ruin mine? Why would someone do that? Because I don't have time to do that ever. You won't see me talking poorly about someone. Right. That's because I'm too busy getting my own thing and doing my own thing. So anyone that's busy enough to get their own thing and do their own thing doesn't talk poorly about you.
It's a waste of time.
So when you see it, you realize you have too much free time.
Yeah.
You're not achieving something for yourself.
Right.
And now you're talking about me. And
correct.
I no longer am affected by that anymore. That took a long time. That took years.
To be able to let that go and know that it's not even though you're portrayed as the root of the problem, you're probably not the root of the problem.
No, definitely not. It's an avenue for them. It's an escape for them.
To get it.
It's something that's going to make them feel better. There's nothing more than a coward wants to see a hero fall. That's what they all cheer for.
Yeah.
And they are happy about it. And it's a weird emotion because I think at any point in our lives, we've all, I don't know if it creates more drama or if it's just something that is entertaining for us, but it is entertaining to see a hero fall.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, that's a movie thing. In real life, I'm pushing for everyone to succeed. Like, I don't care if I compete with you or if you're a competing company even.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you are pushing to make that product better or make a similar product better, I'm going to try and make mine better than yours. And that's how we end up with self-driving cars. And that's how we end up with ChatGPT, AI. And that's how we end up with all these things.
Yeah.
Somebody did it, and there's room for improvement.
Yeah.
Because their perspective was limited to the creation of the product.
Correct.
And they will be credited for that. But sometimes that can be capped with creativity.
Yeah.
When somebody else offers a new, fresh opinion.
Fresh take.
That's why humans are so fantastic, is because, and I did this with GK Tech. Like, I don't think either one of us like actually care or think about this, but they came out with an Ackerman adjustable kit for a 350Z.
Yeah.
And nobody had it for like a regular kit, the one that you have right now. And their design was super smart. I was like, good job, GK Tech.
Yeah.
Like, that's a nice design.
For sure.
So I'm looking at the knuckle again, 3D scan, I'm spinning it around, I'm creating planes, I'm putting objects on it. I'm like, man, I can't come up with an Ackerman adjustable piece that doesn't copy them at all, but offers the same or better performance and adjustment. I'm like, so I came up with 3-4 designs, had to go to bed and I just take a break, and then I came back to it, and I came up with what you have now, which is what I feel to be the simplest, the strongest, and the best design for an OEM knuckle with Ackerman adjustable design. I think it's currently, I would rather run it unbiasedly versus the competitor product.
Right.
And I hope that they one-up me again.
Yeah.
Because
it creates, it's like
I'm a competitive guy. So that's just what it is. So
it's like a perpetual circle of improvement. And I could say the same in our industry, especially now in the age of, like Facebook, Instagram, like social media, I guess. People are showing off their work.
Yeah,
right? Like
totally.
30, 40 years ago, the only way that people knew you did nice work or created good stuff was by word of mouth, right? Or like there was some form of advertisement, but it wasn't as widespread or wide scale as it is now. Yeah. Like now I can, I log into Brightside Electric on Instagram and my feed is full of other electricians.
Which is great.
So and why wouldn't you look at other people's work and go, oh, that looks great. Maybe we should start doing something different to improve the way we do things. And then maybe they look at some of my posts and go, oh, wow. Like,
And this is an organic version of artificial intelligence where you
basically
are feeling like you need to compete in order to improve yourself. And what ends up happening is you just become better. Yeah. And funny you mentioned that, because my TikTok recently, I watched someone run a panel box and they did a banger job. They just everything was perfect. The bends in the wire and everything was great. I'm not an electrician. I've wired a lot of things, but the box looked gorgeous. Yeah. And then because I watched that video, TikTok's like, here's another one. And I'm like, I can appreciate that one too. And now I've seen them fairly often. Like, I don't know, every 10th video might be something to do with running a panel. Yeah. So I'm sure that yours is just piled with that stuff. It
is. And a lot of that stuff is, there's a lot of people who are let's just say, use my trade, for example. There's a lot of people who are electricians by trade, but they're trying to take off on TikTok or Instagram. So they will do things that don't make sense. Like that panel you're talking about. The wires are probably individually stapled all the way. Like, do you know that it probably took that person 2, 3, 4 days just to lace the panel? Like,
no,
if
I don't know.
No, like, stuff. So we, when we do a panel, we do a very neat job. Does it look like that? No. But can you imagine telling the customer, it's like, oh yeah, like your, and your panel, instead of costing you $2,500, it's going to cost you 10 grand because I'm going to pay an employee to sit there for 4 days and like laser and measure. So there's like, in my trade, in my line of work, there's a bit of a practicality aspect.
Yeah.
And there is limits to what you can charge for and what the customer is willing to pay.
Of course.
If a customer came to me and said, Matt, I want that look, I would say, no problem. We'll do time and material, and it's going to cost you 10 grand to lace your panel. And if they say, great, go ahead, perfect. But the reality of it is most of my customers are not those people.
Yeah.
So going back to, those guys do it for Instagram, for TikTok. They do it for the views to try and gain followers, because I think that's their main focus. So they're doing great work, quality work, but it's not something that's like realistic.
When you look at what the gains from doing that might be, somebody might reach out to that person and say, which they never would have been talked to otherwise.
Yeah.
Because I saw your video, I'm building a house right now.
Yeah.
I see that you're located wherever.
Yeah.
I want you to do my house. And you know what? Otherwise, if we didn't post the video, it never would have happened. So
I think in your line of work, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but in your line of work, I think that's probably more important, because you're trying to branch out, and like my company can only expand within like a 1 hour radius, let's say, of where I live. Otherwise it's not practical. So we actually operate pretty much strictly on word of mouth. Like all our customers, our contractors, we haven't gained them through advertising. It's all based on, we did a job, somebody referred us, but it's a very different industry than what you're doing. Yeah. So I appreciate that there's kind of a mix, I guess. Like some people are kind of in the middle, where they're trying to use social media as a booster. And I do actually know some electricians, like some of the guys I went to school with, that are more social media focused. And it'll be interesting to see, like 5 years, 10 years down the road,
that's the thing,
who's going to be more successful. And also that depends on your definition of success. But
exactly. Yeah. We have no idea. And with leading in from that, we have a generation, which is basically the kids coming from our generation. Yeah. That's pretty concerning. Considering we own a business, so we have a perspective that is relatable and we can talk about, because I have co-op kids coming in, I have interactions with these people, and I'm not going to speak on the co-op students that I currently have, but I can speak on the ones that I decided not to bring on for various reasons. And I am just shocked at what is going to be leading this nation, this world at some point, where I can't even describe it. It's how it's almost like not human they seem. Yeah. I wonder if like our parents said that about our generation. It's not a chance. No. And then their parents said that about their generation. I don't think so, because when I'm remembering back to high school, we were just getting into Facebook, came out in like 2007, right? That's the year I graduated. You graduated in 2007, so I was grade 9 in 2007. Wow. Which I'm 31, you're 34, so that makes sense. Yeah. So you even later than me, but even still, when we first got it, it wasn't that big of a thing. Like you could write on people's walls, but it was so weird. All the boxes were just like squares, and like you could click on somebody's profile. Yeah. You could maybe have one photo uploaded, but there was no cover photo. There was no nothing. Oh no. There was no message boxes. There was no. It was just you could write on somebody's wall. Yeah. And upload pictures. Sure. And even then, I have albums from like old albums. Okay. Oh yeah, from when I was in high school. Yeah. Kind of almost want to delete those. But anyways. Pictures and writing on people's walls, and that's about it. So like there was no social issues being caused by this. I don't think at the time. Not as many. We had MSN, which we would chat with our friends. Yeah. That's a big part of my childhood. Yeah, right. We would get in little groups. We'd get the webcam going. The pixels were, you could barely make out the other person. Yep. But it worked. You could see it. The internet was slow, dial up, of course. I used to bike to the library to play RuneScape because we didn't have fast enough internet. Like, that's what we were kids with.
Oh, absolutely.
And movies to us meant something. It was a big deal to rent one or to go see one.
Absolutely. It was an event when you went to the when you went to the movies with your friends.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved doing that.
Yeah.
And now it's so saturated to the point where you're just like, it's $100 for some reason. Like, I'll take my kids and I'm wondering how this is $117.
Because popcorn. I guess popcorn is expensive.
I guess. We all know what it comes from and how cheap it is, but sure. And then, like a combo with a drink, you're like $34.99.
Yep. What? It's, and as an adult, I don't get the same feeling from watching movies anymore. But maybe that's just the sense of wonderment and everything is like, you know, when you grow up, the child in you dies a little bit.
Yes, but
I appreciate now more stuff like documentaries and stories about stuff that actually happened more so than like fantasy stuff, you know?
Yeah, so the fact of, here's what's important. Here's the point. Here's the main point.
Yeah, sorry. Off track.
Of what I was trying to get at and then got distracted. The main point would be that occupying your mind constantly and never allowing yourself to be bored, which my kids always say to me, I'm so bored. Like, they say it, and I just am like, it's good to be bored. Like, I'll just ray back at them. I'm like,
absolutely.
You should be bored, because then that opens up thinking to yourself, which is so important.
Yeah,
we had to do it all the time. Like, we would be building Lego or Connects in our room 4 hours.
Yep, I can
not 4 hours,
to that for
4 hours, like lots of hours. And my kids and any other kids, as soon as their attention is not being drawn by something, they feel like they can't think or cope with themselves. And I see this with my own kids, so I always try to redirect, encourage, and whatever. But like, let's say, for example, my son going to bed, he's 6 years old now, it's been a hard time to get him to self-soothe himself to sleep. Yeah. Because his attention is always on something. Yeah. Now, it's been getting better and better and better. We go to the skate park. We do tons of stuff. Burn
physical energy and
very important.
And try and stay off like tablets and phones.
But people in our generation are not as aware as I am with this stuff. So we actually have a generation of what my kids are in, and then prior to that, like teenagers right now. Yeah. And people coming out of high school where their attention was taken up all the time, 90% of the time. Yeah. So they are not used to human interaction. They're not used to dealing with stress like you and I have had to build up a massive stress bar. Like
for sure.
You could pack a lot of stuff in mine. Like, you could stuff it full of stress.
I can only imagine.
And I'd be able to just take it, no problem. I'd be like, that is nothing. Like, you could literally, my truck will blow up and I'll be like, it's fine.
I thought about that when we were at Clutch Kickers in Florida last year, because I tried to picture myself doing what you did, which is like have your employees drive the truck and trailer down. You're flying down. Somebody's organizing hotel rooms and food and all this stuff. I'm like, man, and then you got to show up and drive. You got to show up and be focused. You can't, like, you're not just going there for a vacation where you can just like, oh, we're just sitting back having beers. Like, no, you show up. The car has to be ready. There has to be tires. You got to have fuel. You know, like,
yeah. And you got to, and then you got to. That's stressful.
Well,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's all about perspective, right? Like, if I did competition drifting as a privateer, not business owner, I would find that super stressful. Mm-hmm. When I did DMCC, the last event last year, it was like bliss. I was so, like, you know what I mean? Even though it's a stressful environment because it's like you're under pressure to qualify. What if the car breaks? You don't have spare parts, whatever. But for me, it was actually a relief because my mind was so focused on that I was able to let go of all my other daily stresses, right? Relationship stuff, owning the business, like whatever's going on in your life, you can kind of let that go.
Yeah.
But still, it takes a tremendous amount of focus.
Oh, I agree. And I've lost the focus before. And yeah, I mean, that run that you do, I mean, people that are listening that don't know drifting, that drift that you do is, it'll show. It'll show that you were not focused and something was off. I'm getting pretty dialed in now with driving, so it's becoming like I'll go up to the line for a qualifying run and I have almost no stress, no pressure.
So you're
nothing.
able to, like, when you hop in the car, you flip your mind. Like you're like, turn off everything that doesn't matter right now and turn on driving.
I'll think of some really ridiculous stuff right before the run for no reason.
I think that's normal.
For no reason at all. And you literally are having a dialogue with yourself. Full-blown conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Full Schmeagol Gollum stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, why are you thinking that right now? And he's like, I'm thinking that because I want to ruin your run. You're like, perfect. We're the same person. So like, why don't you focus on the zones and the run itself so that I can do and perform well?
Yeah, for sure.
And your mind is like, all the FT drivers have talked about it. You're 50% there if you have your mind under control and focused and able to control it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, the control that I have over my own mind is pretty good, and emotionally it's pretty good. And that literally comes from just having heightened my discipline and consistency with a number of different things in my life. So we were talking earlier how I'm a very unorganized person, but I'm very routine in my function. Like every day there's a routine that I follow. But then if you look at my notes, you're like, this guy's so unorganized. His life must be a mess, but it's not. It's very routine. I will get up at the same time daily, and if I don't, it just doesn't happen. Actually, I literally get up at the same time.
Like on day. Saturday and Sunday, you wake up at the same time.
Yeah, I don't
as
sleep
weekdays.
in much.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Same
and
for
then
me.
I got to get the kids on the bus, and I got to make it to the gym after the bus, so I gotta have had enough food and have let it settle. You can't just eat and go, or else you'll feel like crap and it just won't work.
Yeah, for sure.
So get them on the bus and go there and then be at work by a certain time, and having done the routine. I've done 2.5 hours of work before going to work. And if I haven't, like, I've skipped that and not done that, and I went to the LZ Invitational the LZ World Tour. And I didn't do my routine for about 6 days. And then the first day I got back into it, I felt horrible. Like my body was out of sync. And I was at the gym and I basically couldn't even exercise. My buddy was there. I was like, man, I just feel weak, disconnected, like out of control. Like, what's going on? That's just 6 days. So when you realize what the majority of people's lives are, and it is basically like that, but just forever. Like, they just haven't ever had a routine or consistency or discipline in any area. And then you wonder what all these issues might be coming from.
It's interesting. I know, like, there's areas of my life where I'm very disciplined. Work being one of them was always important to me. And like, but like exercise, that's a tough one for me. I never liked going, like, I never liked gym class. I was very much, as a kid, I was like, I don't want to say I was like a loner, but I much preferred solo sports. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
depend on
BMX,
yourself.
mountain bike, you know, karate, jiu-jitsu, like not team sports. I wasn't a big team player back then. And anyways, that leads into exercising. That's a tough one for me. You know, I started exercising and doing calisthenic workouts. So it's all like body weight stuff. In January, and I was doing great, like 2-3 times a week, you know, and I was making time for it. And then, you know, work gets busier. Stuff starts happening. You're building a drift car, and all of a sudden you're making excuses why you don't have time or you don't have the energy. And then you start feeling like crap, and then it's like a vicious circle of you feel like crap because you're not exercising, but then you don't want to exercise because you feel like crap. So eventually you just have to like push through. You just have to, you know?
Yeah. Like, I've been wanting to do a fast, but I haven't wanted to do a fast because then I wouldn't be able to work or work out.
Right.
So then I just never do it.
Yeah.
And a fast has a bunch of health benefits that are way beyond just not taking in a bunch of calories. Way beyond that. Like, your body does a full-blown reset. Have you ever had the flu and then felt incredible, like 3 days after? That's because you fasted. Not because you were sick. It's because you did a 3-day fast where you didn't eat anything. And your body gets rid of all of these dying cells that are like ruining the rest of your body's
Yeah.
cells, and everything just feels like there's sludge covering everything. And you do an oil change,
Yeah.
and you know when you get an oil change and you're
Yeah.
like, I think it's faster.
Yeah,
Even
absolutely.
though it's not.
Yeah.
But
It's a feeling, and I guess when you're talking about your own body, that's what matters, is how you feel.
dude,
Right.
I can consistently say every time I've been sick
Yeah.
with a flu type virus,
Yeah.
for a full month after,
Yeah.
my body has perfected it's perfect. Like
Yeah.
the way that it digests food, the way that I feel, my energy levels, like it's perfect.
Yeah.
And that is fasting. That's what it is. It isn't that you just were sick for a while and then you just aren't anymore.
Yeah,
It's because your body did a full flush reset, good to go.
for sure.
But basically just what you said, I have avoided doing that because then it would ruin my routine. I wouldn't,
Yeah.
like, it would be difficult to work out without eating anything.
Yeah, I
it
can
just would
imagine. Yeah.
So I already have a hard enough time eating enough as it is. Like I eat a lot of food.
Yeah, your metabolism must be.
Yeah, like I can't eat enough. If I'm
Yeah.
working out consistently, I'm losing weight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? I'm putting on more
Just
muscle.
got to
But
stop at McDonald's after every workout.
dude, I can eat whatever I want, which at this age it's cool, but it's difficult for me to put on weight. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we can trade a little bit.
Right? I mean, it depends on what you're going for, but it's equally difficult. And exercising is something that takes a long time before you enjoy it.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. When I started in January, I felt terrible for the first like week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I started noticing it's like, oh, like, you know, like my focus is better.
Mm-hmm.
I have more energy. My sleep is better. Like,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
not that I sleep longer. It's just that like I fall asleep right away. And when I wake up like, you know, it's not like, whereas now,
It's
and I'll be
measurable,
honest,
too.
like I haven't worked out in probably 3 or 4 weeks. And it's bad. Like I wake up, I'm groggy.
Yeah, it's
it takes
measurable.
me half an hour to like get out of bed. I feel
REM
tired.
sleep, and they can actually measure it with sleep monitoring
Yeah.
devices.
Oh yeah.
But they can check. Actually, the biggest thing with alcohol is that every drink that you have, you remove half an hour of REM sleep. I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah. I think it's REM. R-E-M.
REM
sleep. Yeah.
And that's where your body heals, recovers,
Yeah.
restores, and
Yeah.
rejuvenates everything, basically. And you only get 2 hours a night because your body fluctuates between all these different levels.
Yeah.
And I'm not a doctor, and I'm just completely regurgitating
No
everything
medical
that I've
advice.
listened to that from people that are not smarter than me, but way more rehearsed in that field.
Yeah.
And I believe them. So I'm just going to
For
repeat
sure.
it, and this is not medical advice. But I'm sure that they're right because alcohol is literally poison. You can kill anything with it, yet
Yeah.
we drink it, which is, it's good. It's fine. It's
There's new studies coming out now, like actual studies backed by real scientists, that there's no benefits to alcohol. You know, there's like
yeah, the people that would say like wine,
it's
glass
like,
of
oh,
wine.
have a glass a day or whatever.
No.
Apparently, it's not
Zero
true
is
at
better.
all. 0 is better. Yeah, your body's not made to metabolize this. It's not made to process alcohol. This is a man-made product.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, like when you break down what alcohol is doing to anything, so to look at it, you have to concentrate it.
Yeah.
And if you concentrate it, that stuff kills, burns, and destroys everything
Yeah.
that you put it on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're drinking it.
Yeah.
So it's funny because the solution to pollution is dilution, which is what a lot of, unfortunately, what a lot of companies do in order to waste product. Where I'm getting at is if you can't dump a bunch of waste down a drain because it's too concentrated, you can if you add a bunch of water to it.
Yeah, so now you're
Then
wasting
it becomes
water.
legal because
Yeah.
your parts per million is less.
Yeah.
So the crazy thing is companies will spend millions in adding water just to avoid the waste costs.
I
So
believe
that waste still goes there. And then they send the samples and they get it tested and they're like, you're within the threshold of 1 part per million. So
Yeah.
you can dump this down the drain. It's like, it was 100%.
Yeah.
Not 1 part. It was all of it.
Yeah.
It was all bad. And then they just added a bunch of water to it. So what we're doing is we're adding a bunch of liquid to
Yeah.
what is poisonous.
Exactly.
And it makes it
Diluting
okay.
Yeah,
right?
it makes it so your body can process
It's
it.
diluted.
I've tried to cut down. I was never a big drinker.
I'm not a big drinker at all. No.
But I've tried to cut down recently, and I can tell you the less you drink, the better you feel.
Mm-hmm.
That's been my experience so
I
far
agree.
anyways.
I like 1 or 2 beers does not affect me whatsoever. 0 effect. But
Yeah.
if I had 6 or 8, I'd
Yeah.
feel like crap the next day.
Oh, and as you
Horrible.
get older, it only gets worse, man.
Hits you
That's
harder and harder.
you know,
Half
there
time.
it will happen sometimes. You know, having a good time, drinks are flowing. You know,
You gotta
get
weigh
sick,
it out.
and then the hangover. It's not just like one day. No. Sunday you feel terrible.
As well.
Go back to work on Monday, you still feel terrible. Tuesday, oh my God, I can still feel it. So that's why, just give it up. It's not worth it.
No.
I enjoy the taste of beer, for example. I enjoy drinking it, but not to the point of wasting. That ties back into time.
Yeah.
Time is so valuable to me that I don't want to waste any time feeling terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather feel as good as I can all the time.
Yeah, I agree. And like, especially going on these events, a lot of people like to drink, and I'm just not. I'm okay with a few.
Yeah.
I'm like, there is no point in me drinking anymore because it's going to ruin my sleep. It's
Yeah.
going to ruin my day tomorrow.
Yeah.
I have to drive tomorrow. I have to do things tomorrow. Nope.
I wonder if there's a correlation between how much you can achieve and what success you can achieve compared to
Versus?
how much you're consuming. Yeah.
Oh, dude, there's definitely a correlation with that, with weed, with anything.
And anything that's like
anything that
controlled
alters
substance, yeah.
your like state of mind,
yeah.
I would say is probably just better off not.
Yeah.
Like
My sister would have some choice words for you though, because she's in the medical field, and
I'm okay with that. I think
yeah,
there's lots of
there's,
medical benefits to
like for example with like mushrooms and microdosing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's also a natural thing. It's not something man-made.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I'm not a medical expert.
I'm not.
I'm just.
And I don't have much experience with psychedelics at all.
Neither do I.
I have zero,
to be
actually.
honest. Yeah.
So I
about the same.
I couldn't say anything about that at all. I would say, as a general consensus, that drinking a lot or smoking a lot of weed is just
It's
not
bad. Yeah,
good
it's not
for
good.
you.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think there's definitely no cases where you should be drinking alcohol. There's just none.
Yeah.
But I think weed offers. There's lots of studies showing people that have seizures, and it basically completely
There's medical uses for it, for sure. Yeah.
And like people for sleeping, like I have trouble sleeping sometimes, and I've had a number of people say you should try this.
Yeah.
I'm like, I bet you that would work, because I remember in the middle of a storm at Cayuga, crazy storm, I'm the only one awake. Everyone else is sleeping. They all smoke weed. I'm holding down the fort. The tent's blowing away. You should have seen this storm. There was a Ferrari that had its windows open, and it was destroyed.
Like rode off. Yeah.
Rode off.
Yeah.
Everybody's tent. Like I went out and strapped this thing to my car, and it was still damaged from this storm. And my awning got ripped off the trailer, and I'm out there just holding on for dear life, and the boys are just out
Passed
like a
out.
light.
So it's a good thing you didn't smoke, because otherwise your stuff would have all been gone.
Absolutely. And then, although I've tried it twice, and it just hasn't done anything to me.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know what that is.
I also wake up during every surgery, so I just think the dosage is wrong all the time.
Oh yeah.
Every
It's
time.
like your body's just like processes it, and it's like in and out.
I've actually, like, they did this on Mythbusters with Adam and Jamie.
Yeah.
And they were trying to test Ginger's pain threshold being higher than normal.
Is that a thing?
But it is a thing for like, what is it called? If they put you under, what do they?
Anesthesia?
Yeah. So anesthesia.
Yeah.
They do require a larger dosage per
Interesting.
pound. Per pound.
Yeah.
For sure. So, I mean, my appendicitis surgery woke right up. What's going on, guys? What are you doing? Hey, you're not supposed to be awake. I also got a hernia awake. Wisdom teeth. Woke up.
Oh my God.
Every single time. They've never gotten it right. So
really?
Obviously they look at your weight, and then they determine the dosage, and then
There's
they give
a calculation,
it to you. And it doesn't work. I'm like, you're going to have to give me a little bit more.
Yeah. Now you know at least. Give me the
I've never
dose.
been coherent enough to tell them.
Oh, okay.
I've always been like...
Yeah, because they just shoot you back up.
Going
when
into
you
surgery.
When you come to, they're like, oh God.
I think so.
Yeah. Like count backwards from 10 and then you're back
I only remember
out.
waking up, and I don't remember going back to sleep.
Oh, that's
So,
interesting.
Yeah. And
I would have a panic attack.
It's always waking up and throwing up, which,
Oh, yeah.
what do they give you? Morphine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff makes me super nauseous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some people are allergic to morphine too, though.
Yeah, I remember them giving it to me, and I was in a ridiculous amount of pain, and it was just gone. Like, I could feel it
Yeah.
warm going through my veins and
Yeah.
then hitting the pain area
Yeah.
and literally just dissolving. Like
Yeah.
a cube in water or something. Like, it just disappeared, the pain.
Yeah.
And then I just started feeling nauseous, and then I just started puking everywhere.
Transfer the pain from one area to the next.
Well, I was just like barely even able to keep my head up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, they're pushing me around in a wheelchair.
Oh, man.
I can't even sit up straight.
I've been so lucky in this life. I haven't had, like, knock on wood. I haven't had a major surgery where I've needed to be put under local anesthetic. Oh, actually, that's not true. I've had teeth removed.
Right.
That's a local anesthetic. But you know what I mean? Like, I've been lucky. I've never had to go under.
I feel like I'm fairly lucky, or I thought I was, but I had appendicitis, which is pretty common.
Yeah.
But I just let it go way beyond it's what it should have been. Like, I just was too stubborn to say that I thought I had the flu.
Yeah.
Worst pain I've ever had. I'm like, this is the worst flu I've ever had. It was. That is exactly what it was. Because I ended up having to call an ambulance. There was no way I could drive.
Oh, no.
So I had no clothes on. I was laying on the floor. And I'm like, I'm dying. I'm going to die. This is not the flu anymore. But at this point, it's too late. My blood was pretty heavily poisoned. I had to go on some IVs. Like, when he did the blood test, he was like, oh, no. This is not good.
Oh, this is bad.
Yeah, this is bad. So I went for an emergency surgery, and I waited about 24 hours too long for appendicitis. So it was definitely a bad thing. But I don't know. Like, here we are. And the other problem was I didn't want to look like an idiot going to the hospital for what might have been a small thing. So that's just a thing for me. I hate inconveniencing people, and I don't like looking stupid.
Yeah.
So I would hate to go there and then be like, you're just sick with the flu.
It's like, oh, you're just constipated.
You're just constipated. I'm like, oh no. Like, I'd be so embarrassed. So
I get that for sure.
I'm like, just gonna tough it out. Hopefully it goes away. But the pain, the fever, it got so bad that I was actually at the point where I no longer could do anything about it. Yeah. And I've never been at that point.
But you were able to get your phone and dial 911.
I called my dad first.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't know if I called the ambulance or if he did.
Yeah.
But anyways, I got picked
Somebody
up.
came. Yeah.
Yep.
That's wild.
And then they asked me in the ambulance, what's your pain out of 10? I was like, it was a 10, but now it's like a 4. Yeah. And then they put me in the waiting room, and then it went right back to a 10 again. Yeah. And then the doctor could not believe, he was furious that the ambulance people put me in the waiting room.
Based on the description of your pain. Yeah.
Well, after the blood test, he was like, who are these ambulance guys? What are their names? I cannot believe that they put you in the waiting room. Because I was basically dying. But that's like telling them, I guess I should have exaggerated maybe what the pain level was.
Yeah. You were too humble.
I was just being honest. Like, I don't want to exaggerate. I'm like, it was bad. Now it's okay.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be bad again. It kind of goes in waves. Like, you know how you got to hit the toilet sometimes? And it hits you, and then you're fine. Yeah. And then it hits you again. And you're like...
That's always on a long drive home.
Yeah.
It's like, you're fine. And then 10 minutes before you get home, your stomach just starts like, oh. Yeah. You start to get the cold sweats.
Yeah, right.
And then for that last 10 minutes, you're just white knuckle driving.
Yeah. We've all.
And then you get home and you're fine.
Exactly. Waves.
It's the weirdest thing.
That's what I told you.
Yeah.
So I don't know what. Yeah. They should have known that.
Yeah.
But they probably see this all the time. They probably see it all the time.
I'm sure they do. Yeah. It's probably, yeah.
Anyways, I made this table. And I don't know if you remember when I first started making products back in the day.
Yeah.
Before we knew each other at all. I made rising sun wing brackets for people.
Oh, did you?
I don't know if you knew that.
Very Japanese.
Well, the guys were asking me to make them.
Yeah.
And I was trying to... I basically just drew a bunch of lines in the shape of a sun and then made it fit whatever shape of the wing bracket was.
Yeah.
And it kind of took off. I was getting these aluminum wing brackets cut locally by a water jet company. I was in college still, working another job, and I was making like probably $200 profit on these things.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that's kind of like what inspired this table design. It's supposed to be like a rising sun looking thing.
It's a nice table.
Yeah, and then I made a mistake on the end there because I made the steel, this black is all steel, and these are wood inserts.
Yeah.
What I did was Control Alt scale down by 1%. That's how I got these to fit inside.
Oh, right.
But what I forgot was
It shrinks the
if you
length.
scale the width,
Yeah.
it shrinks by like less than a millimeter or
Yeah.
less than a 100,000 of an inch, whatever your preference is, metric or imperial. But on the length,
Yeah.
1% of 30 inches is like a quarter of an inch.
That's like,
So
yeah.
that's where you get the gap from. So I was like,
You should just like fill these with epoxy or something.
Yeah,
Like a different
listen,
color epoxy.
those gaps are what held this podcast up for about 4 months because I just couldn't find the time to like make little pieces of wood
Yes.
and like cut them and fit them
in.
That would have taken longer than designing and building this whole
Table. And then you just get your guests to put their arm on top of
Yeah,
it.
you
anyway,
can't
so.
actually see it, but I almost am embarrassed by that.
I wouldn't be. I would say it looks like a design choice. It looks like you made it that way.
Yeah. So let's circle back to the generation.
We kind of went off topic, like way off topic.
Who's the youngest guy that currently works for you? Ish, even if you want to avoid the specifics.
21, I think.
And how do you find that age group? Let's not talk about your specific employees, but how do you find hiring this generation, and what are some issues that you see?
I'll be honest with you. Like we hire once in a blue moon because our employees tend to stick around for a long time. And we're very lucky to find, the young gentleman that we did. I don't know if he's an exception, but he's quiet, respectful, shows up every day, works hard. I have heard no complaints from all of my other employees about him. So he may not be a good example to try and portray what you're saying.
You found someone
Yeah.
great that is probably outside of the norm, which I have also been hearing from whoever knows about this stuff, but the entry into the trades is just rapidly declined.
Yeah, that's a scary thing.
Everyone wants to be an influencer. Everyone wants to be in the entertainment world of streaming and things like that, where trade income is actually probably going to surpass like a degree's income.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it hasn't already. I think like a bachelor's degree now, it's like a high school diploma. Everybody's got one.
So maybe we're
don't
safe.
stand out.
Maybe we're safe in the trades.
I think so. I know because we work with our hands, and the work that we do, I don't think in our lifetime will be able to be replaced by machines or AI. You'll always need a human to diagnose like the plug that's not working in somebody's house, because you got to show up, you got to move the furniture, you got to talk to somebody.
Yeah, houses are old, man, and houses are mistakes are made.
So I have no fear that we will run out of work. Our industry will change in the next 30, 40, 50 years, but there's always going to be work. I am scared about the lack of people getting into the trade, though.
Yeah,
but I think that is usually, and this is just based on what I know of my own trade, is that there's always it's like a wave, right? It's like when tech became big, like, I don't know, when would that have been? Like in the 90s, let's say, everybody wanted to be like a software engineer or whatever. And those were great paying jobs. So there was a decline in the amount of people going into the trades. And then in 2005, 6, 10, whenever it was, there was, there's a big crash. That industry slows down, a bunch of people get let go, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're pushing for people to get into the trades. So I think we're due for another one of those crashes, like getting paid to do nothing, or not nothing, but like, how can I explain this without sounding bad?
Well, you can sound
Like,
bad. It's fine.
you know, there's like, and this is not saying anything bad about somebody whose career is based on TikTok or YouTube, because I'm sure those people work their butts off, like people that are successful at it.
Yes.
But is that sustainable? Is that
No,
something that you're going to be
not.
able to do for your whole life?
So money has to represent, actually money isn't anything. Money is a representation of an exchange. And it makes a lot of sense when you buy from me, because that is an even exchange of work in the field, providing electricity to a house, exchanged through money representing your time and my time in design in making a product that you need to get more angle. So
that's right.
That is a full circle. That is like you solved a problem and someone needed that problem solved. Needed that problem solved. That's the difference. Not wanted, they needed it solved.
Right.
Somebody has to constantly be doing a job that is needed. In order for guys like me, we make stuff that people want. So that's okay. But when you have pure entertainment or people purely just getting paid off of TikTok or whatever they're getting. Canada doesn't pay for TikTok, so we're kind of out of the loop there. But a lot of US people, Instagram was paying for Reels, and people were trying to hop on this wagon where they don't need to actually do a dollar for dollar work. Which is like an hour paid is a hour whatever. There's a saying for it. I don't know what it is. Anyways, there's no exchange. The money isn't representing something. There isn't a transaction. That's the key. There's no transaction happening. They are getting paid on a whim that's not actually giving anything. And that is largely due to not having a gold standard with money anymore, basically. So money actually doesn't have a value. It's based on gold back in the 70s, which was cut, and now it's based on loosely oil. And that might even change. So then what's it going to be based on? Nothing. So the bank is allowed to basically print counterfeit money, but it's illegal for you to use counterfeit money. Why? What makes it different for you to use fake money versus a bank? So what makes them outside of that versus it's the same thing as if, although you would have a way less dramatic impact if you just printed like $100 just needed some groceries. I need groceries, I'm just gonna make, versus them printing like $700 million, whatever they're printing. So the craziest thing is that we're in a society where transactions actually don't exist. There isn't value on both sides. Whereas business to business, we see the value directly, and I think it's awesome. I think it's cool. And we could actually be doing these exchanges without money at all, because I could get you to wire something for me, and in return I can give you a product that you need. And it would be the same.
That is basically the origin of business.
It has to be. It's the origin of money.
It
and represents.
That's, you know, like I was a farmer, like, and you were a blacksmith, and it's like, oh, I need a new sword. It's okay. Well, or that's a good example. That's a better example. My sword. No, but you know what I mean. It's like I'll give you a couple of pigs, and you build me a sword. Like, you know,
going further back when we needed swords. For sure. If we're going to like 200 years ago, you're a farmer.
I was talking like middle age.
And you know, I would have been a blacksmith. That's the funny thing.
Oh, for sure.
I would be like making cool stuff out of metal, for sure. And I'd be like, yeah, your plow's broken. You're gonna need me to like iron that baby up and fix her up and whatever, torch it, weld it, whatever they were doing. They didn't have like the flux and the argon gas and all that stuff, so I really don't know how they were.
Everything was forged, wasn't it?
Yeah, I would have had to reheat, forge, stamp,
like when they
press.
built wheels, like wagon wheels, like that's one piece of steel that's been forged into,
drawn, forged, and made,
and then nailed. So they even made the nails.
It was crazy when you press layers of metal together, heat up, repress, heat up, so it kind of forms the grain structure into one.
And they knew that back in the day.
But on a microscopic level, you could still see that there was two pieces. So it wouldn't be as pure or as good as one. But yes, your plow would have needed fixing, and we wouldn't have had to pay anything if you just gave me food.
And there's no tax on an exchange. That's the interesting part of it.
Yeah, and I mean, when a cashless society comes around, which is happening,
I think it's
on the
inevitable.
horizon, it's inevitable. if you own a business, you're going to be okay. If you don't, you're going to be screwed.
Yeah.
If I'm just going to put it simply.
Yeah, it's going to get harder and harder, I think.
Yeah, like
as money is worth less and less.
That's why relationships are so important. That's why this podcast has so much value for me, is I'm going to eventually have people on that I don't know at all. I'm just interested in them.
Yeah.
And that relationship for them is going to be valuable for them because I can offer a lot of different things in a lot of different ways. But being connected with like-minded people is going to be so important going forward with the way that this world is changing.
I think so, yeah.
Relationships are going to be the root foundation for me and for a lot of things, whereas other people may find occupying their time with entertainment their highest priority.
Yeah.
I could care less.
Yeah.
I could care less.
Like, you don't watch TV.
Never.
You don't have time to watch TV.
I really don't.
Yeah.
Man, I have a TV in my room with Netflix ready to rock. I got all the other things.
Yeah.
And I just never turn it on. I should stop paying for it, to be honest. With my kids, I will. I'll watch a kids movie or we'll do something like that.
Yeah, but there's a difference between children and adults.
Yeah, depending on the movie, I won't even be watching it. I'll just be like doing something. I'm with them. I'm hanging out with them, but I'll be probably on my phone answering messages.
Doing something productive.
I try, but I don't want to be too distracted. And I mean, the movies nowadays, the ones that hit the theaters, like Mario, I did see with my kids. That was actually fantastic movie.
I heard it was good.
Yeah, it was good, man. Like we played those games, and they did a great job, I thought, at like modeling what the original games had and were.
Yeah. With
the rivalries with the raccoon suit where Mario can fly. Like we all played Super Mario 3 on Nintendo.
Yeah.
Where you get it and you just tap A, I think, and it would just like start flapping its tail.
Yeah.
And you start flying, and I'm like, he had a raccoon suit, and he was flying around, and I was like, sick. And my kids have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, they're like, okay, it was good.
Why
animated
does a raccoon suit make him fly? Like, you don't understand. Like, just watch the movie.
It's almost like it was made for the adults.
I think it was. Like, he got Jack
It's like
Black
a combination of like, it's entertaining for the kids, but really you as an adult get all the meaning behind all the interactions.
I actually enjoyed that for the first time in a while. I've never fallen asleep during a movie until I started going to movies with my kids.
Yeah.
And I fell asleep in a theater, and I have a hard time sleeping. That's how crazy that is. So I think that was Paw Patrol. Fell right asleep.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I can't stand it. I'm like,
I know nothing about that.
Good.
No kids yet.
Good. Yeah. Don't even bother. It's toxic waste.
Yeah.
Well, there might be some lessons in there. I don't know. Friendships and things like that. But, I mean, unfortunately, I think that it's just not going down a good trajectory. So we're kind of like putting in extra effort to make sure that we're in a good place. And that's why I'm looking at, like you are as well, I don't think you'll be able to buy a house in 5 years.
I actually had an interesting conversation with one of my young employees this morning, and we were kind of joking around, but I said, like, you know, for you guys to own homes, you're just going to have to like live with your parents and wait till they die. Yeah. And he laughed and he didn't say anything. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess that might be true.
That's totally true.
They can't afford, like, who can afford a house these days?
Not with the interest rate. Like if you're looking at a $4,000 to $6,000 mortgage payment per month, which crazy. Nobody's making enough money to pay for that.
No.
But the thing is, when a house does come up on the market and when when everything starts to settle down and the interest rates realign with reasonable amounts, investors will buy everything. Yeah. Like yourself, like myself. Yeah. And we're not investors. We're just like above the bottom.
Exactly.
We're just doing okay.
Yeah, I don't own 2 homes or 10, right?
Yeah, no, we're trying to be the investor. So we will be looking at the market with more buying power than
a first-time home buyer. Yeah. Yeah.
And the problem is there are people with 5, 10, 15 houses where buying a new house is nothing. It's like they can just borrow against, here's the down payment, equity. Done. Yeah. And I think basically a house going up for sale and being sold within 7 days, without question, that's what happened. That's what happens. My parents were looking at a house. They thought, let's think about it. Let's talk about it. Sold.
Oh, yeah.
You can't even think about it. You got to go. You got to go buy it.
Yeah.
Basically.
Inspections, nope.
No,
if you want
that's
it,
the craziest thing.
Yeah.
People are not getting inspections. They're bidding over, no conditions.
Oh my gosh.
No conditions. 3 years ago, you'd be crazy to go no conditions.
We have a customer that we're working for, and I feel so bad for them. They're really nice people. They bought a house with no inspections, and they're not handy people by any means.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a country house that has like a rubble foundation. Like the roof is collapsing, the well's no good, the septic's no good, the foundation of the house is no good. So these poor people bought at the height, which would have been like last year in the spring. I think was probably the highest. Although I think it's gone up again, but they bought, in my eyes, at the worst time, paid the most amount of money for this property, and now they're stuck, basically rebuilding the entire house, because like you can't jack up the house and replace the foundation because the house isn't structurally safe to do that. So like, you know what I mean? So they bought this, they basically paid all that money just for the land, and the land's not worth what they paid.
No,
so
that's scary. To a lot of people.
Yeah, and that was forced because they needed to buy something, and that was the rules of the game at that point. Was like, if you want to buy, you can't do conditions, you can't do inspections, you just have to like go look at it, say yes, pay what they're asking or more, and then deal with the consequences. Which luckily
the guy that I used to buy this house and stuff, he's been buying and selling houses for 30 years.
Yeah.
He can tell if the foundation
You had an honest realtor. Because that's the other part of it too.
Yeah, we've known him for years.
I almost wonder, like that's another interesting career choice, being a realtor.
Pays well.
It does, when times are good.
That's right.
You know.
So yeah, he was super honest. Like I think that he could have easily sold me on something else.
Yeah.
If he just wanted a quick sale and be done.
Yeah.
And then just say sorry later and that's it. But he would be like, no, that crack looks fine. Like that just looks like it's whatever. Like in the foundation. He's like, no, I don't see any water damage. Like he knows.
Yeah.
This guy knows a lot. So luckily, he was super honest. That's because this house is solid. So this is great.
I think that's important. There's a lot of young people getting into realty, and it's scary because they know just enough to sell you the house, but maybe not enough to protect you as a buyer.
It's crazy that the majority of a lot of what they're doing is a lot of the paperwork.
Yeah.
When AI can do that so easily.
Yeah. Like I'd be more interested in a realtor who actually worked in construction. Like somebody who could show me the house and say, the location's great. Yeah, like the price is good, like, you know, for the amount of square footage or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's a good deal. But like, you should be careful when you look at this age of home because like, oh, it's a block foundation and those are known to crack and leak water. That could be $20,000-$30,000 in repairs. Like that's the type of realtor I would want, is somebody who can coach me.
He was good. He's like, I know this area, you're going to want to buy it with the condition that they empty the septic.
Yeah.
And you're going to want this and you're going to want this.
Yeah.
And we did it. That was all built into the deal.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Yeah. So you got one of the good
the guys. First day in, the septic was freshly emptied.
Yeah.
And he's like telling me, this is a coffin style septic. You're going to want to monitor it.
Yeah.
And not do anything crazy with what you flush down the toilet.
Yeah, the 3 Ps, right?
Yeah, you got to be careful with that stuff and not too many chemicals and things like that because you'll clog up the system. And he was like, otherwise, it's a good foundation house.
Yeah.
It's solid.
Yeah.
It's a good property. Like, it was awesome. But when we're going to be looking at buying another house or purely as a rental property.
Yeah, as an investment.
And I feel like you kind of have to, because in 5 years you won't be able to buy anything anymore. That is just the direction that everything's going.
My question to you though is like, is the market going to adjust if nobody can afford homes? Like and I'm not talking about not investors. Investors will always be able to afford real estate. It's just a matter of like, you know, for example, if you look at a house to rent, it's like, how much is the mortgage, property taxes, and upkeep versus how much I can rent it for? Mm-hmm. And then they just adjust the rent. So that's how you're getting like, oh, I don't know how much rent is in this area, but like where we are, like a 2-bedroom apartment is like over $2,000 a month now.
Yeah.
Which seems ridiculous, right?
Same here. It's pretty much the same here. My kid's mom pays $1,850 a month for a basement.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
See, so the investors will always be able to buy because they just have to.
So what they're going to be
enough.
doing, this is what the government's going to do because I've seen it. They will change the definition of low-income housing to suit what the economy is doing.
Right.
So they can adjust that percentage. What is considered low-income housing?
Yeah.
And how can you apply for it? So they're just going to make low-income housing more accessible by giving and changing that definition, and then you can get subsidized, you can get whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to be a cashless society, a society that depends solely on the government for your living, and they will own everything, or investors will.
That's a scary thought.
That's what's going to happen. It's already happening. Like it's crazy. Just the Airbnbs, just like everything going on. Have you tried to rent a hotel room lately?
Insane prices
are insane, dude.
Yeah.
Like $240 for like one bed.
We're going to a music festival downtown Ottawa, and we're looking for just a hotel room because we're like, oh, it'd be nice to like be able to walk up to the event.
Yeah.
Like within, let's say, 10 blocks of where the venue is, it's like $700 a night.
Yeah. So I didn't finish exactly. Like this is like a no star, like at middle of nowhere. I'm just looking to stop on my drive to sleep. Yeah. $240. I couldn't even imagine like a nice hotel that's close to a venue. Yeah, it would be like $700.
Yeah.
And then I was up in Hamilton. I just needed to stay the night to work on my Corvette with Josh. And I'm just looking for a random hotel that's somewhere in Hamilton. It's not no star, don't matter. Yeah, like $240 for like a nothing hotel. And I remember when these were like $67 or something. Yeah. Like not a lot. And that's solely based on the hotels are not able to compete with Airbnbs. They're not able to compete with that's the majority of it. Like you can now do a room. I can own this house and I can Airbnb a room while I'm still living here. Yeah,
which I find that weird. I've seen those. I would never stay. And I would, no matter the cost savings, I would never choose that over a hotel room.
Some people will.
Oh man, that's so weird.
Like, it's weird. I would never do it.
Walk into a random person's house and sleep.
Now, if it was someone like me, you'd be like, this is fine.
Well, yeah, if it's a friend or somebody you know. But I'm just saying, like, let's say I'm driving across Canada and I'm like, want to stay somewhere in Winnipeg. That's like, oh, hi, Susan. I'm Matt, your Airbnb tenant or whatever you call it, renter.
I mean.
And then you're like, yeah, I don't know. It's just, for me, it's just weird.
So some people drive Ubers, which I try to talk to all of them because I'm just interested in what they're doing.
Yeah.
Some of them drive them just to talk to people.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Like in Vegas at SEMA, pretty much every Uber driver doesn't need to drive Uber.
Really?
Like I was picked up in a Mercedes, like a brand new Mercedes.
Really?
And then that guy, I actually got his cell number because he literally looked like he just got out of a gym and was like sweating and super fit, like ripped.
Yeah.
And I just got from the corner store. I had like 3 Gatorades in my bag and he looked like he was thirsty. Yeah. And I'm like, hey man, do you want one of my Gatorades? He was like, he thought that was the nicest thing I'd ever done, like anyone had ever done. So he gave me a cell number and he drove me to and from places off of like just texting him.
Yeah.
Rather than going through Uber because I don't know, he just thought that was so nice. And I'm like, man, you just look tired. And I had to message him because my phone was dying and Ubers at SEMA are ridiculous. You can't get one. If you call it at 4:30 and they close at 5, you're done.
Yeah,
you're done. No, you won't get one.
No.
So I walked to a 7-Eleven. All my Ubers canceled. They all saw the traffic, and I messaged this one, and I was like, please don't cancel. My phone's dying. I can't walk to my hotel. It's literally too far away.
Yeah.
It's like 11, 12 kilometers. It's late. I've been walking
all day.
20 kilometers or more.
It's a workout. I'm done. Just being at SEMA.
Yeah, and that was cool. But basically, he told me the whole weekend, because I talked to the same guy.
Yeah.
He's super rich. He fought in the UFC. He was friends with... Pierre
JSP?
Yeah.
George St. Pierre.
George St. Pierre.
Yeah.
Had pictures with him. Like, he showed me the pictures, and he's super rich. Does not need it. He's like, I literally just drive Ubers to talk to people. That's the only reason.
I think that's America, though.
Yeah, it could just be America. But
like, in the sense that, like, to have enough money and still want to do that just for fun. Do you know anybody in Canada that would do that?
I don't know.
So that guy's got a bunch of investments or things making him money while he sleeps.
Right. Yeah. Maybe people with Airbnbs want the same thing. Maybe they'll try to strike up conversations by renting out one of their rooms.
Well, that's like the concept of a bed and breakfast, right? Like the original bed and breakfast. It was in somebody's home, and they were just renting out one of the rooms. Yeah. And then they, like, you sleep in the room. Maybe you have your own washroom, maybe not. And then in the morning they make breakfast. You usually sit down with them to have breakfast, and then you go on, to your day or whatever.
I mean, we're so antisocial now compared to what humans used to be that I'm sure these people are just dying inside and they don't know what the problem is.
Yeah.
And some of these people have figured out that the problem is lack of social and communication with human interaction.
Yeah. We're so connected but disconnected. Like,
it's ridiculous how connected you can be without realizing it. Yeah. Especially when you're close with some people.
Yeah.
And there's definitely people lacking in all of those areas by, like, playing video games all the time. Might be fulfilling whenever you win and you get your dopamine hit and all this other stuff, but then comes a massive crash and a lack of something.
Yeah.
I've never gamed hard enough to know what that's like, but I do know what it's like to win in a game, and it's sick. And if you were that good to do it all the time, then that would be awesome.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I'm sure that the majority, we're not talking about the top 1 percentile that wins everything and is paid millions of dollars and they're doing great. We're not talking about them.
Yeah.
We're talking about everyone else that goes in a lobby of Call of Duty and gets smoked most of the time and wins sometimes.
Yeah.
It's definitely not, if you're doing that for hours a day, that's not good.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. You could be doing something a lot more productive.
And TikTok streaming. Like, some people that have 5 to 7 or 8 hours of, like, screen time.
I'm bad on Instagram. In the morning, you got your morning routine. Before you leave the house, you're on the toilet and you're just like, I guess back in the day, people used to read the newspaper there. So they still spend a lot of time there. But, like, now it's just like you're just scrolling and scrolling. And then you could be there for 10, 15 minutes. You're like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't bring any value to my life.
The algorithms are far too good now.
Yeah. And
this was an old documentary, 2021, I think, where, I forget what it was called, but basically your phone is a projection of you, almost 99% match. Like, your phone knows you better than you know you.
Yeah.
Or your spouse knows you, or your mom knows you.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it sees all the dirty things you search sometimes, and it knows what you like and don't like. And basically, it's built you.
Yeah, for sure.
And now it's able to have access to all of your platforms, because as soon as you downloaded it, you hit allow access.
Yeah.
We all don't know it, but what it's allowed to
do you
look
ever
at.
read all the disclaimers? No, you don't have time,
I've heard the short videos, and it's...
You don't have time. Like, you're just like, okay. Let me use the app.
Everything. It can monitor and make decisions based on your text messages, your phone calls, your Google searches, everything. So now it's catering a real stream for you that is so accurate on what you want to see that its number one goal is to keep you there as long as possible.
It's creating addiction, basically.
And it is so good at it.
Yeah.
It is good at it, even with the most disciplined and routine people.
In a perfect world, you'd, like, put your phone away for an entire day every week. You'd just, like, turn it off and do something that doesn't include any screens.
Yeah.
It's hard in I think in this day and age, but I think if you're able to do that, that would probably have some big benefits.
I agree. There'd probably be, like, fasting benefits, like a full reset, a full brain, because it feels like you have missing limb syndrome when you're missing your phone, which...
Yeah, I know, like, if my phone, which it rarely happens, like, I charge my phone at night because I'm, like, super OCD and my phone has to be charged when I wake up in the morning.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
But let's pretend that I get home and my phone's dead and I plug it into charge. Like, I still feel the push notifications in my pocket I feel that zzz, zzz, and then I'm like, but I don't even have my phone.
Yeah. No, it's weird.
scary.
And if you ever go to the bathroom and sit down and you don't have it, you're like, what am I going to do?
But not even just in the bathroom, like anywhere. Like
bad.
like
Bad.
we can't like.
This is new. This is new for humans.
Yeah. Where was I? Actually, it's the last time I came down. I went to Mucho Burrito.
Oh yeah.
And I was by myself.
Great place.
Yeah. Well, if you're gonna eat out and eat fast food,
It's the
might
best.
as well eat something somewhat healthy, right?
No, it's good.
But I'm sitting there by myself, and I was like, I'm not gonna go on my phone because I'm by myself. So like, it's kind of awkward to just be like sitting here eating and not looking at something. But I like made a point to like put my phone down and just eat. And I was just like people watching, like not weirdly, but just like, because what do you do when you're eating? Like you just eat your food and look at what's around you.
Yeah. Thankfully, I'm able to do that. Going to the airports is always hilarious for me. By myself, I'm sitting there and I'm listening on conversations and I'm watching what people are doing, and I'm like, these people are weird, man.
Airports are a wild place, though. You get to see all kinds of different people.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't like. I'm aware enough to just realize what someone might think when looking at me. I don't know. I just am aware, and I think a lot of people aren't. Aware of that. Because I'm like seeing and listening to some things, and I'm like, holy. What the is going on there? And it's really interesting because no one could look at me and say that. Like, I would seem very boring in an airport.
I would say you would be hard to read.
Yeah. Like you would have
like
no
you don't
idea.
know, is this guy having a good day, bad day? Unless you talk.
Right.
Like, if we're talking, it's easy to figure out, but
just it's weird to like, I mean, obviously I'm thinking about this on my own perspective, but I'm always trying to look at how it is in another person's shoes, and that's basically empathy. And a lot of people lack empathy as well. Like these are proven by studies that I've just listened about. I haven't actually done any research myself, but from guys that know a lot about psychology and have talked about it for hours, and I happen to listen to their podcast. They would say things like people lack empathy, narcissism is quite common, and people don't even realize it, how what they do and how unaware they are on things that they say, how they act, and how it impacts other people. They're just not aware. And when I think of something, wow, I would never do that, it's because the awareness, they aren't doing it on, like, if I was to do it, that would be a very mean or stupid or thing for me to do. But they aren't aware, really.
They're doing it like not consciously.
So it's difficult to think about it in a different perspective where they obviously think differently than you do. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. Whatever this is that they're doing. I'm not going to say anything specifically, but it's just crazy how different things are, and how they even say that half the population apparently doesn't have an ongoing monologue in their brain.
That's weird, because I always think, like, before I speak, there's always a voice in my head.
Well, you
like, I don't know if
wonder.
that sounds weird.
You have to wonder. I know these people are not listening to this podcast and never will, but at like pajamas at 12:30 in the afternoon, walking downtown with like 8 XXL coffees.
Tim Hortons smoking a cigarette,
pushing the walking cart somewhere, or pushing a stroller. I'm like, what are these people doing? What are you doing?
I don't know. I ask myself that same question.
I want to ask them what got them out of bed. Why did you get up today? And was it the only reason was to get extra tall coffees?
Triple Tim Hortons. And have your cigarette.
You couldn't even get out of your pajamas. I don't even own pajamas. I've never worn pajamas. So it's just a weird thing to think about, and I would love to ask them, but in a non-rude way. What makes you tick, basically, in the nicest way possible? And
they I'm just hazarding a guess that they probably wouldn't be able to tell you.
No, I know.
It's survival. There's a lot of people that are on this planet, they're just surviving every day.
I think that's more and more, actually.
For sure.
And it's not because of their own intuition. It's probably because that's the only option. There's a lot of cases where you wonder why someone would work at a certain job
Yeah.
for as long as they have
Yeah.
for that minimum wage. And you just begin to realize that it is survival. They don't have an option to allow themselves to try something else and possibly take that little risk.
Yeah.
Where we have taken all the risks, and
For sure.
I mean, circumstantially, at a time that was easier, a little bit easier
Yeah.
to take the risk.
Yeah.
But at the same time, people are afraid.
For sure. I can tell you, this maybe goes into one of our talking points that we had mentioned earlier about like mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to mention Jeff Thompson. He's my old boss, and I guess you could call him my business partner, because until I'm done paying him off for the purchase of the company, he still has a stake in what happens. But anyways, he was a big proponent in like pushing me to take risks, right? I'm like, by nature, I think I'm a very risk averse person. Like I'm not usually one to take risks, but he was able to mentor me and push me in a direction where I would take some risks. And that's the only reason that I am where I am today, right? Like as a business owner and having achieved all the things that I've achieved is because he's like, how can I explain this? He basically coached me and, explained to me like, if you don't take risks, you're going to have regrets later. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's possibly better to take a risk and fail than it is to just live in the, what could I have done? What could I have been if I did this or if I did that?
Yeah. So the cost of regret is higher than the price of failure.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
For sure. And to his point, or to your point, I've said this before, this actually made someone cry in front of me, and I'm like, I don't see myself as a inspirational, inspiring person, at least not at this point. And when I said this to this person, it was exactly what they needed to hear, apparently. Yeah. So I'll say it to you as well. I said to him that life was like a GPS with no screen. The screen's broken. Right. So how do you get to your destination? Basically, you need to try different roads and keep driving. And once you go down a road and you end up saying, this is not the right road, I'm on the wrong path, you simply turn around, mark it with an X, and go to the next one.
Right.
And if you're doing that, that is better than the person that just parked and just sat there and said, my screen's broken, I don't know what to do, and I'm just not going to go anywhere because it doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah.
Nobody's telling you anything. You have no idea, and no one's going to help you. Really, mentors are one thing, but you personally need to decide to ultimately take the leap. Oh, yeah, for sure. So basically, that's what it is. And as soon as you cross off, like let's say you keep failing and you keep failing, eventually you'll find that road that was the right one. Right, for sure. And like guys like Michael Jordan have 6 NBA rings. He won 5 in a row. Yeah. I hope that's right.
I'm not a big sports guy, so I wouldn't be the one to correct you.
But he wouldn't even talk about how many wins he has. He would actually go to say, I've missed 3,000 shots. I've only made 23 game-winning baskets. He would say those things. Yeah. So he would actually focus on his failures and point out that that's how he got to where he is, not by his wins.
Yeah, so by failing, it showed him kind of like the right path.
You have to fail. Yeah. Basically.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So with that, we're at an hour and 40 minutes-ish.
Yeah, that flew by.
I heard somebody walk in, whether it's the kids or something else.
Stranger danger.
I'm not sure. No, something else stranger. Yeah, that's it. That's the end of this episode 3, with
Mathieu Berthiaume, or Matt.
I can't say Berthiaume. Nice. With Matt. Thank you guys for watching. I will be doing another episode with Jacob Gettings, who is the host of Formula Drift. That's going to be cool. I'm posting bi-weekly, so I'm trying not to overdo it and consume myself with this. I have a lot of other things going on, but thank you.
Thanks for having me.
For coming on.
It was an honor.
I don't think we need to really edit anything other than maybe, I can't think of anything. So great podcast.
Me hitting the boom mic with my
It's fine.
with my beer at the beginning.
All right. Have a good night. See ya.
See you guys.
When you do that, that's now a transaction. What I do has nothing to do transactions. I'm 100% opinion and information based. And like, I don't even try to spit facts at all. I try to stay so far away from hard data in those podcasts.
Nice.
Because I'll ruin it. I'll say something wrong. Like I will have been like, I got this for sure. And then somebody like, no, actually I've done it. It's already happened. I've said like, this person did this thing, this factual number. And I'm like, well, actually, and I'm like, fuck.